Okay, so it's 7:01. I'm going to call the meeting to order. March 7, 2022, meeting for Wakefield Mission on Disabilities. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded. Lois, are you good with your flag? Okey doke. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hi, Kristen.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Okay, our mission is to address the needs and concerns of our disabled residents and provide their full participation in the activities and services of Wakefield. I only see us on, so no public participation. Will someone make a motion to approve the minutes from the February 7th meeting, please?
Sure, I will.
Thank you, Lois. And will someone second that?
I'll second it.
Oh, thank you, Darcy. Okay. So Lois, I know we probably don't have any more money than we've had, and we're going to be spending some of it on our banner. So the update with the banner is I connected with Bob Sardella and told him to go ahead and go forward with the banner. I did connect with the T-Stop, and he did get back to me, and he took, he was actually very nice, and he wanted to donate the banner to us, which, while that was very nice of him, I think he thought we were a 501c, and we're not, right? We're a part of the town. So then we would have had to go to the town to request this donation. And in the meantime, when he went to investigate, his vendor is no longer in business. So at this point, I just said, we don't have time to, to continue this. So I just went with Bob. He's working with Jen McDonald. She'll provide him with that, with whatever artwork he may need to keep this going. And I told him, we have this event on April 11th and we need the banner prior to that. And he said, no problem. So we're going to check that off and be done with it.
He's great.
Thank you, Lois, for all your work on that. I'm sorry to have made you jump through hoops. I really would have liked to have had several quotes, but we tried. Before I get to Intelligent Lives, I just wanted to bring to everybody's attention that Darcy, Lorna, and Paula's term on the commission ends in April. Paula and Lorna put in for reapplication, and Darcy did not. So, I just wanted to take an opportunity, Darcy, to say I'm disappointed, but I understand. Thank you so much for all you've done in the few years that you've been on the commission. And so I'm not sure if your commission ends the end of March or the end of April. Do you know for certain?
No, I don't know. I just assumed I would be, I don't know about attending. I just assumed I'd be at the April meeting because it's the first Monday, right, of the month. And then I was planning on still, working or volunteering at the event.
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah.
We would definitely.
I planned on coming to the April meeting because I know that will be about preparing. So, and I can do any follow-up too after the event, even if I'm not officially on the committee, I can help.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, I really,
I
I
understand.
took forever to respond, and then Sherry had to keep emailing me, and I really wanted to do it, but my work life, my business is really taken off, and we actually acquired another literacy company who didn't do so well in the pandemic, and we have some pretty big grants and statewide things happening, and so I just feel like I wouldn't be able to give it my all, so.
Yeah,
But it's
completely understand.
I really enjoyed it, and it was a really, really, really hard decision. So, but maybe I can come back after I
Yes.
have to handle a couple of things. I am planning for retirement, so
Yes.
then I can finally have a life.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm counting the years too. That's,
Mm.
I would have no trouble filling my day with stuff
Yeah,
like this.
exactly.
So,
All right, but thank you, Marie. Yeah, I'll find out from Sherry what the official, but I don't mind. Yeah, but my plan is to still,
to
you know,
still
yeah,
participate
yeah,
in intelligent
yeah,
lives. Okay,
yeah.
great. So we did get another candidate, and she looks like a very strong candidate. The town council will meet on March 28th, and I'm assuming that's when they are going to make their decisions. So yeah, stay tuned and more to follow on that. All right. And just quickly, Bill Renault reached out to me in regard to the ZBA, the Zoning Board of Appeal applications. We had talked a little bit about this at the last meeting. He and I tried to connect today, but we were both busy and couldn't do that. So we're gonna put together a plan, because he's asking me just what applications do we want to see? Do we want to see just, big dollar values, or, he wants to know specifically what we want to look at. So I'll get with him to get a sense of what comes past him, so that we can determine. He did mention that there was an, what did he call it? An accessible unit. Am I using the right term? I think that's what he referred to it as. And I told him we would definitely want to see things like that, where people are requesting to add units onto their home for a family member. We definitely want to have some input into that. And when I told him, I think specifically we want to do is to be able to educate the ZBA on, the fact that when we talk about accessible housing, we're not just talking about for those folks that have mobility issues, that there's a lot of other kinds of accessible housing, and we want them to be aware of that, right? So that when people are coming forward with some of these requests, that that they're sensitive to that. And those who are building units like at the head of the lake, we don't just want a unit for people with mobility issues. We want a unit for people who are deaf and hard of hearing, who have sight issues, intellectual disabilities, like we discussed at our last meeting. And after we get this intelligent lives behind us, then we can really spend more time focusing on that.
Marie,
Yes.
the I think I told you that I not by choice, I listen in on the ZBA meetings because
Yes.
they're taking place in the next room. So I think when we go back to in person, I won't hear them quite as, and it's the reason I'm up here, because there's I think a building and something meeting tonight. The Crescent Street building at the last meeting was approved to move forward. And so I think that what would be great is for us to learn at what stage do we want to give input, because once it's approved to move forward with it, it's going to have 40 units in that building, but it's approved to move forward with the plan that, they have the blueprints, they have everything, and they move it forward in that way. So the developer is not likely to go back to the table and hear what we might have to say and revise anything. So in that spirit, I will say that there is there's a new project that's proposed for 38 units on North Avenue. Those two new buildings that were built next to the car dealership as you're heading out of town on the left side of North Ave?
Yeah. There was one, and then they purchased property to build the second one.
Right now, there's a third building. I don't know if it's the same developer, but So the way it goes is there's the, the building, then there's a wooded area, then there's the, I don't think it's the Elks Club. Why am I forgetting the name?
It's the Knights of Columbus.
That's it. Yes. So in between the Knights of Columbus and the second building, there's a space, and there's a developer that's proposing to put in 38 units there. It's just coming up. It looks like this.
Okay, yeah.
So this is the kind of thing that they deliver this whole notebook to all of the ZBA members, and it has a ton of information inside of us. This is a 40B housing, which is housing for folks that are low income. And there's a new person in the community, Erica Kokinda, and she is the Community and Economic Development Director for Wakefield. And she gave an update at the ZBA meeting on how many 40B units of housing do we have in, sorry, my coworker. How many units do we have in Wakefield? And there's, X number, 10% of every multi-unit dwelling, more than 4 units has to have 40B, and it has to be 10%. And there's this whole formula thing. And she explained it really, really well. I'm obviously not able to explain it really, really well, but she explained it in really understandable terms at the ZBA meeting. So that might be something that we might want to link up with Erica and invite her to the meeting to explain. Yes. So 40B housing, because that's the low income housing, and every town, I know that we're supposed to have 10% of, and that includes every single dwelling unit, houses, apartment buildings, everything in the town of Wakefield. 10% of that housing stock is supposed to be low income, and that's not to say it's still like really low income. It's still, I think it's still pretty expensive for the units, but I'm old and I didn't pay very much for rent when I
Well,
paid.
it will be curious to hear from her what, when they say low income, what does that mean,
Yep.
right? Because it's got to be some reduction. So I would think some percentage of reduction in the average housing market
Right.
for the area or something
It is,
like that.
yeah. And it's the person's personal income that is, X% of poverty level. So, you can be, I don't know, it could be 200% above what is considered to be poverty level, which is pretty low amount. So go ahead.
Sorry, just
Go
to
ahead.
interject, and having tried to use 40B for people with disabilities on a couple of different occasions. It is lower income, but it takes the town's average income, and so, like if the average income in Wakefield is $200,000, then the person would have to make, between $50,000 and $75,000. And we don't find that most of at least for the people that I support, the adults that I support, they're just with their Social Security and maybe part-time job, or don't have that level of income. And so it's really hard for them to get 40B. I have seen it, had one success story, not in Wakefield, but actually in a town in like Metro West. But I think, and I love the idea. And I definitely don't want to discredit the 40B because I think it's wonderful. But I also think, at least for the population of people who aren't able to work full time for a whole variety of reasons, that's probably not the best option. That maybe something like a Section 8, or, just kind of some variations of kind of the new construction, just because they would need, again, just in the families that I'm familiar with, they would need, a co-purchaser, and then it looks at that person's income, not the person with a disability. So it can just get really, really tricky, or they would have to have somebody who would say, I'll pay the mortgage if you can't. So the mortgage, cheaper than rent, which is good, but still pretty unattainable for many people with disabilities. And so I think that's one option, but I would love to hear from Erica about kind of some other options as we kind of, you know, like Marie said, try to educate folks on kind of the different options and maybe what other towns are doing. And, you know, I bet
I think that's a great idea.
pretty confident.
I love the idea that you all talked about, and the only way I can describe it is kind of like a dormitory there, that it has a community living space, community kitchen, and then bedrooms off of that could be shared space. And how can we get people to develop? What are people looking for? And then how can we get people to develop that?
Well, isn't the Lincoln School, so the school that's behind the town, which is, I think, senior living, right? Isn't
Yeah.
that sort of the model they have? And I would love, if that's the model, I would just love to see it. I'm just curious, right? I'd love to see what that model is.
That's my understanding. And in my understanding is that kind of the senior housing, like senior disabled housing in Massachusetts is kind of one and the same. You know, they can count units that have senior or disabled. It's kind of the same catchment for housing. But that's my understanding of the Lincoln School when I've looked at that for different people. And it does seem like definitely a viable option. And the Wakefield Housing Authority must be, you know, making it work financially and in terms of regulations and codes and all that kind of stuff in some way.
Yeah, well, definitely we'll have to investigate that. Lois, you have a question?
I was just gonna say, I wanna say that they aren't, I think two people share, I'm not sure, but I wanna say two people share an apartment type of thing.
Could be, yeah, that could
That's
be.
what I wanna say, you know. I used to work there, you know, in the school department, but since that, it's changed totally. But I just wanted to put that there. And
Yeah, we'll maybe we can take a field trip once we talk to Erica. We might be able to, you know, just see some. First, we need to understand what we have here in town, right? And then figure out what population isn't being served and how we can, you know, make that happen.
I think Lorna has her hand up.
I'm
Lorna,
sorry. Who did? I couldn't see.
Me.
Oh, hi, Lorna, sorry.
Okay. 40B is only for purchase of. It doesn't, we don't have a formula for rentals. Is that it? Or is that would
I
be
think it
strictly
can be rental.
voucher or Section 8?
I'm not sure. I also know that it is by lottery that you get into 40B, that all the people who are eligible can apply. And then if they have, you know, 3 40B units available, I think these are apartments that are being proposed. Chapter 40B comprehensive permit. This is apartments. So I don't know if they would call them condos if they were per purchase, but this is the one that's being proposed, says North Avenue Apartments. I thought they had to call them condos if they were for sale. I don't know if that's true. But we can find out.
Yeah, definitely worth finding out. My experience has been that it's only for purchase. 40B is only for purchase. You would have like Section 8 vouchers that the town gets so many of those too to give out through the Wakefield Housing Authority. So those are different because those are like state and local funds, and then there's federal Section 8, but each town has so many Section 8 vouchers that they can give out, and that would be for rental, and that's when you pay 1/3 of your income in rent.
guess the question with that is also, the Section 8 puts out guidelines on what you can purchase, what you cannot purchase, but what you can rent. And I think I'm just wondering about with the cost of rents going up so much, are there affordable rentals out there for people that are on a lower income that the voucher's not going to cover? You know what I mean?
I think that's another challenge, and who is willing to rent a Section 8 apartment, because there are a certain amount of regulations that you have to follow, and you have to have your apartment at a certain level of safety and compliance in order to get that money from the government. And so again, just in trying to help families find those units, it's really, really, really challenging. And then I have experienced firsthand that if I call versus a client whose English isn't their first language calls for the apartment, I'll get a call back and they won't. And we're literally calling for the same thing. So yeah, there's many issues within the system for sure.
Yep, well, that will keep us busy.
Do we think we want to try to find people who can come and give us a little education? Do we want to try to reach out to the housing authority or to Erica?
Yes, I think we definitely will. I have to look. I had signed up for a couple of webinars. I don't have my calendar in front of me, just on different listservs that I belong to in regard to housing. And so I will participate in that, and if it's, handouts that I can share, send it to all of you. Bill Renault has, offered to set up a meeting to meet with the ZBA to have, again, we just want to educate them, right? That where we're going with this. And so, yeah, that will all be part of our next project. So, Lois, do you have another question? Sure.
Yeah, I want to say that the housing authority is in the bottom of, I'm not sure where in the Lincoln School, but they are in the Lincoln School.
Yeah, I think I understood that too. So let me write that down. They're in the basement or first floor of the Lincoln School, right?
Right.
Yeah, they're in the basement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, does anyone have anything else on that topic? Okay. So let's move to Intelligent Lives. First thing I want to do is Paula, why don't you give us an update? We hope we still have Biddy and Bo's on board. You've received an affirmative from Whole Foods, correct?
Correct. Yep. Whole Foods, I actually ended up going through the person with the disability. I had not been successful in kind of going there and emailing the store manager and was getting nowhere. And so I happened to run into the person who I know works there. And I said, hey, we're doing this Intelligent Lives. We'd really love for you to come and speak, but we would want one of your managers to come and speak. Who should I call at Whole Foods? And she said, well, if you give me a flyer, I'll ask them. So I gave her a flyer. She asked them, and they reached out and said that they would do it. So
Okay, awesome.
That was great. So Alex and Steph from Whole Foods. And then I reached out also to the manager of a couple of different Starbucks. I know he works with some people with disabilities at the Saugus Starbucks that's northbound right by Trader Joe's, to see if he would be able to come.
Okay, well, that's great. We've got at least two, so I feel better about that. And then the more the merrier. If we get Starbucks, that's awesome. So we've talked a little bit in the past about, you know, I told Biddy and Bose that we would provide them questions ahead of time. And so I wanted tonight firm up what we want them to be prepared to discuss, both the employee and the employer. And I'm gonna try to share my screen. And Levon, I'm gonna give you host rights as well, just in case. You know how it goes when I share my screen and then I can't see anybody for the rest of the meeting. So I would like to avoid doing that.
I got you back.
Let me figure out make co-host. You have the right person? No. Wrong person. Hold on. Okay, so you should be co-host now. So now I'm going to attempt to share my screen, share screen. I only have 1,000 screens open. Okay, this is the one. Okay, so can you see? To need to be a little bigger. Whoops, little too big.
That's good.
Oh, for Pete's sakes. Can you see that? Oh, that's so go. I guess I can only go so far before it gets too big.
That's good.
Okay, there we go.
It's small.
Can you see that, Lois? Is it too small
No.
for you?
Not real well.
All right, well, I'll read it.
Okay.
For the employee, some of this, and I don't know, how many do we think? 3 questions for each might be sufficient. Why do you like working? What do you think is important about having a job? What do you think makes a good employee? And I think the next one, what about work do you like, may be repetitive. It may be, you know, I don't know, what do you like? Why do you like working? What, does anybody have anything they want to add? Is there another question you can think of that you think is better than these 4 that we have listed here? And then you can see employer, what are the benefits of having this person as an employee? I think that's important. What do you think makes a good employee? We asked for an inspiring story. I think that one is important.
What
Those are
about
great
asking the
questions.
employee? What about asking the employee how working has changed their life?
The employee, okay.
Like something along those lines, like how it's made their quality of life better.
And insert. There we go. So how was working improved the quality of life? Okay. All right, I'm just gonna, guess I'll just put a plus sign beside those. Okay, so is that a definite one that we want to go with?
Just
Maria,
a question.
oh,
Oh,
sorry.
sorry, Levon. I was just thinking, were you considering this being more of a time-based thing so that you should have extra questions if somebody answered more quickly versus just a straight number of questions and whatever time they finishes is just whatever time?
So we've got to allot 70, so this is gonna go, what did we say, 6:30 to 9? 70 minutes of that is going to be the actual film. So that really doesn't leave us, I don't feel, a lot of time afterwards to have this panel discussion, because, you know, by the time the film is over, we get everybody's, I'm envisioning. I don't know that we're going to have a lot of time. So my thought is that we just, if we have 2 or 3 companies with their employee there, we would have a handful of questions that would spark a dialogue. And, you know, maybe people from we're going to give people from the audience opportunity to ask questions, you know, or hopefully other employers who are in the audience to ask questions of the employers that are there. So I'm not really sure how much time we're going. Did that answer your question, Kate?
Like from the perspective of if you wanted to have backup questions, if you needed to like kind of cue somebody more versus somebody else that might be a little bit more verbose, that you didn't need as many questions, that maybe you have like 2 that you want for everyone to answer, and then you have like some backups.
Okay, that's a good point.
And we also, if we still want him to speak, we have Jeff Gentry, who's willing to
Oh,
come.
correct. I forgot. Thank you for mentioning that. Have you had a chance to connect with him since your original communication?
I have. He's more than interested to come, and he hasn't done something like this before, but feels like, you know, if we give him just some parameters and a time limit, that he could, you know, he could probably talk for hours. And I said we probably would have like, you know, between 10 and 15 minutes. So he's willing to talk about any part of employment that we want him to. But he didn't have any suggestions on questions or anything like that.
So let's think for a minute how we envision this happening. So we have the film, we get the panel together next. I would assume that we would have Jeff sitting up there as well. We start our questions. Now, I guess I'm really am hoping, and we probably may need to encourage employers to, particularly employers in the audience, to ask questions. I'm sure a lot of them have concerns and reservations about this. So this is the opportunity to bring it up. And I'm thinking that Jeff would, the Biddy and Bo's Whole Foods can talk from the heart of why, this was important to them and how this has worked for them. But I think Jeff is probably the one that's going to come in with the facts and statistics, right? So do we want him to do we want to carve out a spot for him to say something? And what is it we want him to say?
Maybe he can even just give, I was wondering if we wanted to have him either kind of start or finish. I'm not sure which position would be better, but like you said, kind of the state of employment for people with disabilities in Massachusetts, and maybe just some success stories. I feel like that's, important for employers who are in the audience just to hear. Or maybe how people with disabilities can be supported at work, and kind of what that can look like, and Biddy and Bo's and Whole Foods can talk in more detail about what that looks like. I don't know. Those are just some ideas.
Yeah, I think the support at work is important, because I don't, we'll speak of Biddy and Bo's. We know that there's, they're using their own employees, but they might be able to learn a little bit here from Jeff Gentry as well. The other, isn't there a tax advantage to employers who hire people with disabilities?
Yes.
So that might be something that we want Jeff to just throw out, if, I don't know if how much detail he needs to give, but that just another perk to an
Right.
employer who might be contemplating this and really just not sure what to do.
And, or maybe we just want him to go over, you know, kind of all of the benefits of employing people with disabilities. I mean, I think that's really his strength, and maybe that's even more important than you know, kind of the numbers and the statistics in Massachusetts.
So how much time do we want to give him just for his, obviously he'll interject during the discussions when needed, but just for his piece, how much time do you think we would want to give him?
I don't know. What do other people think? I don't know, like 10, 12 minutes? Is that too much time?
So with 6:30, 7:30 is an hour, that's 60 minutes. So 6:30 to 7:40, right, is going to be our presentation.
And I think that
Assuming we
you need to
start
leave
right
at
at
least,
time.
you need to leave at least 5 minutes for an intro,
Okay,
because I don't think we'll start on the dot.
right, so that's 7:45-ish. Even, let's give ourselves till 8 o'clock, right? Just,
You have the place till 9 though, right?
we have the place till 9, right? So if it takes us till 8 o'clock to do the presentation, the intro, you know, get situated, now we have 8 to 9 for the panel discussion, and to me, that doesn't it doesn't seem like a lot of time. I don't know, maybe it is, but so we need to give Jeff some time to speak, and then we need to,
Could Jeff speak like prior to the panel, then let the panel, let us, you know, have the panels talk, give them the questions, and then have Jeff kind of like then talk about benefits of employing people with disabilities and what the tax purposes are or something like that. I could see, I can envision that he'd be very important at the beginning and at the end to tie things together too.
okay, yeah, good point.
And I think if he's more brief at the beginning,
Yes,
because I think that the folks who are affected by this are usually the most interesting to hear. For me anyway, if you're having a panel about adolescence, it's people listen to the adults, but when the adolescents speak, they are enthralled. So I think that the folks who are people with disabilities who are employed talking is going to be a really important piece of this. So a briefer introduction, and is somebody facilitating the panel discussion? So will there also be one of us, or I don't know, Marie, if you were thinking about facilitating this?
I
Or
think one
Paula?
of us are gonna have to drive it. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
I'm willing, if anybody would, anybody feels strongly about that, please speak up, because
I feel strongly about having somebody do it, but I don't feel strongly about doing it. I think that there are a lot of people better qualified than I am to do this.
I don't know. I think we're all shooting from the hip, Janice, at this point. But yeah, we'll work that out. But I agree. I think we need to have somebody give the introduction. And I mean, maybe we all take a piece of this, right? Somebody introduces the film. Somebody introduces the panel discussion in Jeff, and we need to figure out what we want him to say. And then, somebody introduces the panel.
That's a great idea. The more voices that are heard,
Right.
the better.
And gives,
And
everybody a chance to do something. What was that?
also, when thinking about this, the film really isn't going to start at 6:30 because the program doesn't start till 6:30. So we have somebody to do like an introduction, welcoming people there and what this film is going to be about. So that's going to take a few minutes before the film even starts.
Right.
So we need to work that into it.
So I think it's a good estimate to say that the film part of it probably will end around 8.
Yeah, that's
If this-
what I'm
I think-
guessing too.
Yeah, I think that's a good guesstimate, Marie.
So then we have
Yeah.
8 to 9 for this panel.
Right.
Would somebody like to introduce the film? And would somebody like to introduce the panel? I don't think it's too early for us to figure out who that is, because this is coming up in a month. Right, Paula? I think you know a lot about the film. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't know that I know anybody. I haven't seen it more than anybody else. I think I don't know. Yeah, I'm happy to do whatever nobody else wants to do.
It would be the film, introduce the film, then we would want to introduce the panel.
And I think when we are introducing the film, we kind of just want to put a shout out for the Wakefield Commission on Disabilities. Kind of who we are and
Oh, good point.
what our mission is, and
Maybe someone else could do that piece,
Yep.
maybe even first. Because the Commission on Disabilities is sponsoring this today, and this is who we are and what we do, and then this is what the film is. And just a few, even a 1-minute intro to what the film is about and how long it will be, so that people know how long it will be. And then watch the film. And then somebody will call forth the panel to assemble, because people will, I assume, come down to the front. Or where are the people on the panel going to be? Are they going to be in front? There's a stage? I've only been in that building a
There
couple of
is a
times.
stage, and I believe that the screen will come down on the stage. So then when the film is over, I don't know if the screen goes up, or maybe they have the town logo. The town logo and Commission on Disabilities could be the background, and somehow we're going to have to drag out a table on the stage that has our banner on it and pull up some chairs for people to sit. That's going to take a few minutes.
Do people sit on the stage when we have, like when we had a town meeting? I thought the table was in front of the stage on the floor. Where does it usually go?
That's a good point. I mean, I
think the town,
Gavin so long.
I don't think there's enough space in front between the stage and the front row
Okay,
to
okay,
have table and chairs maybe towards the front of the stage.
okay. Does anybody have mobility issues that will be getting up onto the stage?
that's
I'm
my
hope-
knowledge.
I'm hoping there is an accessible entrance to the stage. I should
Yes,
know that.
there is.
Okay, good.
There's a ramp that runs along the left side of the auditorium that brings you onto the stage.
Perfect. Okay, good, because I've been in a situation like that before when we did a disability presentation and the stage was not accessible.
Oh my gosh. can you
Yeah, so the
imagine?
presenter who used a wheelchair could not
Moved
get
up
on the
and
stage,
down.
so we had to move the presentation.
Okay, we'll have to make a field trip to the Galvin. We'll have to have this discussion with whoever they're going to assign us that's going to be running this show. I'll make a call. Not
'Cause there
quite
might
sure
be,
who I
they
call,
probably have a form you have to fill out saying what you want. And so if we want,
which I had
you
to
know.
do when I reserved this thing. So
Okay.
yes, I told them that we were going to be running a film. It was going to be run off of Paula's laptop. We were going to need tech support. That's what I told them. We were going to need somebody there to be able to, facilitate that.
and did they ask you about the tables? Setting up tables on the stage and chairs?
I don't know that we had that discussion because I don't think I got that far, but yeah, I definitely am going to need to call somebody to have that conversation with them. Just confirm try to confirm who's going to be there that night and make that happen.
And can you confirm too, the door that will be open so we don't run into a problem like the voting thing? Where people
Yeah,
should enter?
usually when there are PAC meetings and things, it's that door that's closest to the auditorium that they open, and they usually shut down. They shut down the other doors so that people can't wander around in the building. You come in that door, you go into the auditorium, the bathrooms are right there, and no need to access any other space.
Good. That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm willing to do the intro to the commission. And we've got Paula doing the intro to the film. And somebody who wants to introduce the folks, do we want to introduce Jeff, Jeffrey, and the panel together?
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know what others think.
And hopefully we'll have like a tiny little bio for each person, maybe even if it's just one sentence, because I thought we were going to do a program. And it would be good to have that information in the program as well.
Okay, so I'm gonna. Employee.
And Jeff.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Okay, so let's look at these employee questions. So we want to ask, how has working improved your quality of life? So that's a definite question, that one of the questions that we would ask. What is another question that you think would be pertinent?
I like that one. What do you think is important about having a job?
Having a job. Yeah, okay.
Others may disagree, but I really like that question.
Oh, I like that one. And I also like the why do you like working?
I do too.
All right, so we have 3. So that's 3 for the employee. Now, the employer, we definitely want an inspiring story. That's going to be important. I guess we only have a couple for the employee, right? What do you think makes a good employee?
And what about what are the benefits of having this person as an employee?
Okay.
That's in there.
You have
Right
it in
there. Oh, sorry, I didn't see that. Okay.
Do we want to
Yeah.
ask what makes a good employer? Or is that getting too tricky for asking the employer? So what do you think makes a good employer for people with disabilities? Or do we ask that of the employee?
I got a question. Are these questions going to be asked? Are these questions going to be given to the actual people that are Biddy and Bo's example? Are
Yeah.
these is going to be given to the kids. So the kids could possibly talk to their parents. In other words, don't come, okay, here you are.
Don't come unprepared. Yes, that's why we're working on it, because when we end this meeting, I want us to be able to, Paula and I, and to go back to the company, the employers that are agreed to do this, and say,
Right.
thank you for your willingness, just confirming the date, the time, and these are the questions, you know, that we'll be asking you, and would like you to be prepared to speak on. And then they'll give them to their employees who, yes, will go home and
Beforehand.
sit with their folks and write out, maybe have their little cards ahead of time, because some of these kids will need, yeah, they will need that. They won't be able to just speak
Right.
off the top of their head. So yes, I agree, Lois. So Janice, I'm sorry, what was that other question? We have, what are the benefits of having this person as an employee? Was it Janice or Lorna? What was the other question? You're on mute, Janice.
I so am. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
What do we want to ask? What makes a good employer for people with disabilities? Is there, I would, I think that maybe some folks in the audience might want to know, was there anything you had to do differently? And hopefully they're going to hear, yeah, not much. It's you're employing a person who's your employee, and there is not much that you had to change to accommodate.
Okay.
If they have, listen, I've, the same expectations. If the person's not going to be there, I expect them to call X number of hours in advance, and,
Biddy Bo certainly does.
right. So it's like,
Yeah.
some people might imagine that it's just vastly different versus vastly the same.
Right.
Marie, I have a suggestion. It's not really for a question, but I think we should maybe include a little icebreaker to get people comfortable with speaking and being up on the stage. It's like a little question that is really easy for people to answer and talk about. Even if it's just like your name, your age, where do you live and where do you work? That just might just get
Questions
people.
that are going to be sitting on the piano. Yep.
Yeah, I think instead of us introducing them, they should introduce themselves, and it's kind of like an icebreaker, and gets people, it's easy and it gets people comfortable with talking
It's a great idea.
in front of a crowd.
Yep, that is a very good idea, Yvonne. Thank you for that.
And we have, when we work, the folks that work at the Disabled Persons Protection Commission, who are the peer support counselors, when they present with notes, and it is, turn the page, all connected, so that there's no messing up of the notes. And sometimes they're reading. So they have thought in advance, what do I want to say? And
Right.
they're reading their responses. And I think that's perfectly fine if that's what somebody's comfortable doing.
So I'll just make note to encourage the employees to bring notes or note cards.
Probably okay for the employer to bring them too.
Yes, well, but. Okay, we're doing good. You have had some really good input. It's starting to come together. So we've got the introduction of the commission will be Marie. The introduction of the film will be Paula. we need someone that wants to introduce Jeff Gentry in the panel. Well, so now we've added this icebreaker. So we would introduce Jeff Gentry. We could introduce the panel being Biddy and Bo's and, you know, the O'Donnells, and then Whole Foods and whoever that person is. So, and once that's done, then we go to the kids and ask each one of them to introduce themselves or introduce the company Biddy and Bo's. This is Dave and Mary Ann O'Donnell, and then go to the kids and say, would you introduce yourself? Does that seem to work, LaVon?
Yeah, I think that would work. And maybe just ask them one question to kind of just, I don't know, something like just like a fun question to answer. I think that really helps people relax and
That
feel
will break the
comfortable.
ice.
Right.
Do you have any suggestions?
I
Last
don't know.
time, go ahead.
What's your favorite? I don't know. What's your favorite something? Something like that,
Right.
you know, and
That's what I
tell
was
us your
thinking.
favorite ice cream flavor or something. I don't know. Just something fun.
I think that's a great question.
Fun question. Okay.
What do you like to do on the weekend? What's a hobby? Just something fun to answer that makes you kind of take a breath and, okay, this is going to be okay.
Ice cream color. Yeah, I'm thinking we were asking my son Dan, if you asked him as a hobby, he would stumble. But if you asked him his favorite ice cream, that would be something he could quickly respond to, I think.
We can even give them that question in advance as well, so they can think about
Yeah,
it.
good point.
'Cause that
Or for the Biddy and Bo's folks and for the Starbucks folks, we could, because, you know, these kids, after their shift at Biddy and Bo's, they all get a drink. For the Biddy and Bo's folks, what's the drink when your shift ends? What's the drink you always like to get?
That's a great
I
question.
like that one. That's good.
Yeah, I love it.
Mm.
Because it relates directly to where they work. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
So
great idea. I really like the idea of having a fun question too.
I can't see what I'm typing because you girls are in my space. When your shift ends, what's your favorite drink? Yeah, and I'm sure that maybe we ask Whole Foods because there's probably something pertinent to them, some little thing that they do similar to that, maybe. They might be able to help us out, but if not, we'll go with ice cream or color, but okay. Okay.
I was
So
also wondering, Marie, about Biddy and Bo, since that's such a kind of special company, if maybe a question specific to them about like, can you talk about your mission or just like how your company got started, or not everybody there might know their story.
okay, yep, good point. So I'll put that.
You could also frame that question in a slightly different way to the other employers, like how they got introduced to employing people with disabilities, or, you know, how they got connected to it initially.
That's a really great question. That might be something to maybe just prior to Jeff talking, have each of the employers, you know, quickly answer that question. So at the end of the panel, how did you do this? And then go into, you know, Jeff talking about the benefits.
At the end of the panel or the beginning? What do
I'm
you think?
thinking right before Jeff talks at the end, when he talks about the benefits of employing individuals with disabilities. to have each of the employees answer that question right at the end as a sort of a summary. I don't know how quick it will be. I mean, I think Biddy and Bo's has I don't think that might not be a quick question though.
That's what I'm thinking. I really like the question, and how did you get started employing people with disabilities? I think that's so important, but I also think that could be like a 20-minute answer.
Right, for each
Well, it
one.
also could be their inspiring story.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so maybe we leave it at that then. And their inspiring story can only be what, about 5 minutes realistically?
Mhm.
All right, so I think, are we good for the employer piece then? The inspiring story, what makes a good employer for people with disabilities? Do you have anything different? Do you have to do anything differently to accommodate?
Would you be phrasing the inspiring story a little bit differently to send out to the employers so that they're thinking about what we were just talking about?
Well,
How
that's
did
what
you
I'm thinking
decide?
I'm going to say, an inspiring story. But how do we want to phrase it?
Well, you could give examples such as why you began employing people with disabilities, but they could have something that's different from that. They could have, this particular employee made this kind of difference in my life.
Because I think that just gives them a little bit more direction as to what we mean by inspiring story.
All right, is that helpful? Oh, oops. There you go. Okay.
I don't know what happened to the rest of that.
I know, it's just the way that the formatting is.
Okay.
I'll
But
clean it up and send
yeah,
it
you
all
know,
to you
right.
for final. I'll give it some thought and
Yeah.
clean it up, and then you guys critique it. And my hope is to work on starting to get I think we should, Paula, you and I, at least for the 2 companies we have already on board, send them an email just confirming everything with this information and just let them get started. If we add somebody else, that's great, but let's let them get started. I'm kind of getting worried that Biddy and Bo's maybe forgot I even asked them, so I want to get this off to her. Okay, so if we're good with this, then I want to jump over to, I wonder how this is going to work.
Actually, I just want to ask a question. I don't know if this is something that, I don't know if this is something that we should kind of like spotlight or not, but in the discussion guide for Intelligent Lives, it does bring up the point because it does talk about, intelligence, and it's like just kind of things for people to think about. We don't have to, poll the audience as to how they're thinking about it, but maybe just something in our brochures for them to think about is how do they define intelligence?
Well,
Do they? Go
we
ahead.
had talked a little bit about having and this may turn out to be too much work and we may have to just drop it, but we had talked a little bit about having quotes and things somewhere. I'm gonna write this down.
So maybe this is where we can ask Bella if the youth advisory board could maybe help just make some of these posters that we could put up on the wall or something like that, that had the quotes on it. Or
How did we come to a decision on how we want to handle that?
no, I don't think we did.
I think we talked a little bit about, we talked about maybe putting them on the seats, and then, we talked about maybe having it on the handout, but again, the clock is ticking, and
You could also, that could be what you project at the end. If you're going to
Yep.
continue to project something, you could have either a bunch of quotes, or
So
you could revolve through. That might be distracting for folks, though, to have something that was moving. You could put a bunch of quotes up. I put a quote on the back of the bookmark that, and there were some good quotes that were out there.
well, the other thing we could do is have a slide that as people were filing in before the movie started, we could potentially have a slide that had these questions, how do you define intelligence? Just some things for people to be looking at and thinking about before the film even starts. So we wouldn't, we really wouldn't answer the question, but we would just have some provoking thoughts for them.
I think that's
to be
great. You could
thinking
even
about.
intersperse a provoking thought and then a quote, and then a provoking thought such as, what do you think makes a good employee? And then another quote, and, just have different. And do that as a PowerPoint, you think, Marie?
Well, that's sort of what I'm thinking. I'm trying to think of,
I think that would work well because we're going to be taking it all from the laptop anyway. That's how we're showing the film. So we just had the PowerPoint on the same laptop. That seems
That's something
Yeah.
I
what was
doable.
the other one you said, Janice? It was what?
what I was thinking is that if we go between asking some thought-provoking questions and then a
And then a
quote,
quote.
thought-provoking question and then a quote, kind of going back and forth, and that way we'll get both things in. And easy solution if we have it in a PowerPoint that can be, and that could be, start running at 10 minutes before the presentation. So as people come in early, they have something to look at.
Or Janice, another thought just to add to that, if there were questions that you liked, that you wanted to ask the employees, but you didn't think you'd have enough time, you could preemptively ask them and then have that be like, how do you define it? A quote, and then like, what were some of the answers that they would have given if that was a panel question?
And
I
we're
think
gonna
that's a
need
great
some-
idea. Yeah, I could even get some, I could probably ask during the day 5 or 6 people and get 5 or 6 different answers if that was helpful.
That would be great.
Okay.
I love
sounds
that
good.
idea.
All right, so let's, Janice, do you have enough quotes where you can just fill in the quote piece?
I can find enough quotes to do that, yeah.
Okay,
And then we
and
can
so-
decide if we like them or not, so we can, maybe we probably need another meeting before the meeting. to make
Well,
sure.
I was going to suggest that. I was going to ask you all if people are available on Monday, the 21st, because I think we have our scheduled meeting on April 4th. And then obviously the presentation would be the 11th. So are people up for meeting on the 21st? That would be 2 weeks from today.
Yes.
Yep. Yes, I can do that.
So let's plan to do that, majority. If you can't, that's fine, but just so that we can digest all of this and then come back and, get our heads around it. Let's brainstorm a couple of more questions or provoking thoughts. What's another one? Kate, do you have some suggestions?
No, I was just thinking about the fact that there were already so many nice questions already, and like another way to incorporate the ones that I think these came from Paula, but just a way to incorporate the ones that she had already thought about.
That we're not going to ask.
Yeah.
So, okay, so this could be a good one. What do you think makes a good employee?
Yep. And then there was one that was underneath that about how does working improve your life or make a difference in your life, or however we want to.
Okay, let's rewrite that. Okay, so we'll have these here for now. If if you wake up in the middle of the night and you just come think of a brainstorm of something, just email me.
So Paula, if you get those answers, and anybody wants to ask, how has working made a difference in your life? If you ask that question of anybody and you get an answer, if you just email me that information, I'll start putting it into a PowerPoint.
Sounds good.
How about, why do you think, well, who would we ask this to? We didn't include this. Why do you think some employers are hesitant to hire people with disabilities? I don't know. Do you think that's worthy of including on the panel? Or
I think if you include it in the panel, then you're asking them to speak for people they don't know.
Yep. I'd rather not include that. I agree with
okay,
you.
no, that's fine.
Yeah, I'd keep it positive.
Okay.
And do we want to ask, how do you define intelligence?
Well, the beginning of the film has to do with, the intelligence and IQ testing and that type of stuff. So, which, I think still plays a big part in how people perceive people, especially with intellectual disabilities, but also how people perceive people with disabilities in general, not even knowing what their IQ is, but knowing that they have some kind of disability, that they think that they're not as intelligent. And what does intelligence actually show? I mean, there's a difference between IQs and emotional quotients. And
I think that's a really good question. What does intelligence actually show? Because I think
intelligence testing actually show.
I think it's sort of I don't think there's anybody out there that can't think of a really intelligent person that they have not good feelings about that person. But if it's,
Yeah.
anyway.
Maybe that's not a question we have an answer to, but it's just
Right.
a question that we have out there
Mhm, mhm.
for people to be thinking about before the movie starts.
Yep, I think we can pose that with no answers.
And maybe that's whoever does one of these introductions at the beginning, or the introduction that's done before the movie starts. Maybe that's the provoking thought that we end with you know, how do you define intelligence? And then let the movie begin. And let them think about that. Okay, this has been a really good discussion. Thank you. All right, how are we doing for time? All right, let's go for just a little bit longer. Can you see, are you still seeing the screen I was showing you, or are you seeing something different now?
We see the screen.
Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing, and then I'm going to share the screen and choose it. I might just have to choose a different one. Okay. Okay, so now you should be seeing the spreadsheet that I sent out to everybody that had all the invitees on it. And some folks have indicated those that they'll reach out to. So I'll resend this to people. But Lorna, for Reading and Linfield Commission on Disabilities, are we just not able to find contacts, or maybe they don't have a commission that we're aware of?
No, I can't remember now. I
Marie,
don't remember if I just didn't find contacts or if they didn't even have a commission that was listed.
Marie? Or,
Okay. Lois,
gotta-
did you have a question?
well, no,
Yes.
about the one in Reading. It is not a commission. They don't get any money from the town. So they just work with different people, but it's not a real commission like
Okay. But do you think, do you know of have you met anybody or know of a point
I
of
have-
contact?
they really don't say much about it. I mean, I've seen their papers, but they really don't have, they work with other people, in other words. They don't work with like ours does. In other words, they don't have any money actually at all to work with.
I understand. I'm just wondering if there's some, you know, it would be nice to invite the town of Reading. Who would we direct it
Right.
to if they don't have a commission? Who might be, they must have an ADA coordinator, right? Or something like that?
I would doubt it, but I can try to see if I can check it out.
Okay, would you please just do some legwork? Just if you find out who it is, then one of us can send them the actual email, but it would
Okay.
be helpful to just have a point of contact. And how about Linfield, Lois? Do you have any idea about?
I'm not sure about Linfield, but I can try to see if I can find out.
Yeah, maybe let's try, I'll put ADA coordinator, because maybe that, they too may not have a formal commission, but they must have.
No, I just thought of something. Those books that I had made for everybody.
What?
Those books that I gave the
Yeah.
yellow, that they should be listed. Everybody in the towns around, I think, should be listed there. So I think.
Yeah,
you-
Lorna had gone through the little book and she identified that's where some of this contact information
Right.
came from. It's what she pulled out of the book. Saugus is listed, but Reading and Linfield were not.
And I went on their town websites also, and could not find any contact person for
For Reading.
Linfield and Reading.
Okay. I can see what I can do with Reading. I'm not sure about Linfield. Let me just try to see what I can.
Okay, that would be helpful, Lois. Thank you. So let's go down. So we have the commissions on disabilities, we have the council on aging, the high school, the town social media, the VOC, our planning board, Board of Appeals, how the Housing Authority, CPAC. And then we have the surrounding towns, Chamber of Commerce. David Hoff, who I'll reach out to, he's a resident of Melrose as well. We need to write an article, or we need to put something in the town paper. So I'm thinking we use the flyer. I'll try to work up something. Do we want to put it in other town papers, or do we want to just limit it to Wakefield?
I would probably suggest maybe if you're having Biddy and Bo's, so you would want them.
Melrose.
And I don't know the other places that you have people coming from.
Which Whole Foods did you do, Paula?
It's the Melrose one.
Okay, all right, so we're covered there, and we're not sure about the,
Understanding disabilities.
we're not sure about Starbucks yet.
Marie,
Yes,
regarding Reading, it's called Understanding Disabilities, but it isn't really a town board.
okay,
Private.
It's kind of like private.
okay. All right, well, so we had here reaching out to the town managers of Stoneham, Reading, and Saugus. Does anybody want to, if I draft up an email, somebody can just copy it, I guess. We'll use, well, I think what I did for Biddy and Bo's is really specific to participating on the panel, but I can draft up just a template that others can use to send out to these other towns.
Yes, because I was going to just probably do a quick introduction, but attach the flyer
Okay,
to the emails to the different chambers of commerce, and ask them to please disseminate this information amongst their group.
okay, that sounds good.
Because I just didn't, at first I thought, oh, maybe delivering them, but I was just like, I don't know how many, first of all, I'd have to get them copied somewhere, but then I don't know how many copies to give to each one, where it's just sent it out, and maybe they can do the copying and hand it out to
Just
the,
they'll email it to people, right?
Yeah.
That's what they'll email it to people. So we could do a flyer. Let me just add, we probably should post a flyer at the library in Wakefield.
right.
Lois, are you able to print off the flyer if I send it to you off your computer and just go down one day when you guys are out, just drop it off at the library and ask them to put it on their bulletin board?
Yeah, I think I can try. I'll see.
Okay.
I'll
So the
let you know.
library and the kiosks around the lake,
Yeah,
because we have those kiosks behind the glass.
those, the red things that, yeah, that's
Yeah.
where they report.
I forget who would do, if we dropped it at Sherry maybe, or who puts it on. You know what, I'll ask Jen
Yeah.
McDonald,
You should know, yeah.
how we make that happen. Okay, does anybody else have any other, are people comfortable doing it on their own social media? So you'd be good with that? Okay, so
Maria, I
I
can
would,
contact the independent, the Disability Resource Center in Salem.
okay, thank you. Let's,
Yeah, they have a pre-employment transition service coordinator.
well, that could be helpful.
Yeah, they have a bunch of other community specialists, resource specialists, and also just get it to everybody.
Okay, so let me look at, so I would recommend that we, we get going. We kind of were, at least I was sitting on this, because I was concerned we wouldn't have a panel. And I didn't want to be sending things out that said panel discussion when in fact there wasn't going to be one. But I think we're good with that. So I would say just begin advertising, and we will connect back in 2 weeks and, just see if we're getting feedback, if we're getting responses from people. And I guess at the end of the day, we'll all be there and the film will be there, and whoever shows up, right?
Marie, I
Yes.
will send an invitation to the Human Rights Commission
Okay,
Great
great.
idea.
because I have a connection with them.
Did I have them on here or no?
No,
Okay, so let's add it. I'll clean this up too, so resend it. All right, so I feel like we're hitting everything on our to-do list. Does anybody else? It feels to me like it's coming together. And does anybody else have any questions?
I don't really know how to share things because I think I'll blow up my computer,
Well,
but
I was gonna say,
I can
Let
show
me-
you the bookmark if you want to see that.
yes, hold on, let me stop sharing. And then, I think I can make you a co-host.
I can hold it up. I can do this.
Oh, cool.
Oh, that is cool.
And then this is the back.
Beautiful.
That's nice.
Yeah, really like it.
So I
It
got
is
little
nice.
plastic things to put this in and little tassel things too. That's
Mhm.
not here yet. Yeah, courtesy of my daughter. She said, that's it. That's all you want for the design, because she designs things with a lot of stuff. And it's like, no, literacy. We're designing for literacy.
Keeping it
Um,
simple.
So I'm very willing to tap into her graphic design ability. And it was great that Jen sent the file. I would have had no idea what to do with that file. So if we need it again, I'm very willing to tap into her.
Oh, great. Tell her thank you. We appreciate it. And are you incurring any costs? Because we have money and you should get reimbursed.
I'm happy to cover the cost. It's just a small printing cost. So I'm happy to do that. And they cut them. They did cut them a little bit crooked, said my OCD daughter. And it was, it's true. Being a Virgo, it was very hard to deal with the slight. There just is a little bit too much, a little bit more outline on one side than there is on the other, but we're just going to have to deal with that.
Yeah,
But the scan thing, so I think that I'll need to share that particular QR code, because now that it's on here, that should be the QR code I think that we have moving forward. So I'll see how I can share that file, because she just sent it directly to the printer from her computer. But I'll get the file so that we have this particular QR code, and then we can put it on the table and do other things that we want to do with it.
Now, is that the same QR code that's on our,
flyer.
Yeah, that the
Oh, I
Levant
don't, I
created.
don't think so, but it still leads to the same place.
Okay,
So,
so as
oh,
long
so
as
we
we
don't need
know.
to use this one. That's right, because any QR code that we put on is fine.
So
So
the-
it did, I tried it and it did bring us to our website.
So the-
Okay,
Do you know what the QR code is by chance?
it's.
I
If
mean, the
send-
number or whatever?
There's
or
no numbers. You have to use your, you use your cell phone and you take
Okay.
a picture of that code.
Okay.
And on, excuse me, right, you
You can do
scan it.
that.
See, it says scan me, and it would, if you were on your phone, it would bring you to our website on the phone. Or whatever portable device that you had. I don't, you can't use, like, you can't click on the link on your computer and get to it. You would need a different link
Hold
to do that.
I'm gonna go get my iPhone.
Your phone? Okay,
You have it?
we'll see if it works from
So
here.
I can give it to Bob for the,
Well, we're not gonna put it on the banner.
Yeah.
We're not,
You're
I mean, we're
not.
not gonna put it on the banner. What we'll do is
Okay.
we'll take that flyer that Janice has created and we'll get a plastic frame, and it can sit somewhere, and then people can scan it, go up to the flyer
Okay.
and scan it with their phone. Yeah, we're not,
okay,
yeah, we're not, because what Jen McDonald said was because the tablecloth is gonna be fluid and move, that it's
Right.
probably not gonna work well with the phone.
Right,
So
right,
she
okay.
just
so I
suggested-
don't, so we don't need, so he will have a different code than you will have.
Nope,
Yep,
he should
but-
have, he won't, he doesn't have to, he won't have a code. I didn't share the code with him because he doesn't need it for
Okay.
creating the tablecloth.
Okay,
So he should
okay.
have,
He just needs this.
right.
Okay, yeah,
So that's, I sent him the little sample cloth that Jen did that we all liked. And I
Okay.
included her on the email, and I said, and she responded back to him and said, whatever artwork you need, I have, just let me know. So the two of
Okay.
them are talking, and
Yeah.
I told them, send the bill to Sherry, so.
yeah,
And apparently there's a way to just match the color. I did not know that either. So what Jen sends, you can just match it.
yeah,
Well, she had a number, and she gave that all to Bob.
Oh, she did, oh, perfect,
She knew,
Good.
she knew what
Good.
she used, she gave it to him, and
perfect.
I'm
He's
sure
very-
depending on the vendor he uses, he tries to match it the best he can, so.
he does a really good job, I can tell you
Oh,
that.
I'm sure he will do a good job. Looking forward to seeing it.
Been in business a
Okay, just-
long time.
Yeah, does anybody have anything else that they want to bring up?
So
If
what was
not-
the,
Oh, I know, I wanted to ask Jan, is, okay, so the QR code is on the bookmarker. Is also our website on there too? You know, in case someone doesn't have,
We tried to put it on, but it didn't fit. It
Didn't
ran
fit.
over into a couple of other, it ran over. And so she was very frustrated, so she took it out.
oh, okay,
It made it, you had to go down to like size 8 font to fit it on there. And I didn't think I don't think we should have anything that's size 8 font on here.
Mhm.
But I do think it's a good idea. I thought it was a good idea to put it on. It just didn't end up on there.
We can put our website on the
It's not-
PowerPoint presentation, so
Yep.
people would have it.
And are we gonna do a flyer, a program?
I
So
don't know.
I'm willing to work on that if we can figure out what we want in it, the names of the people and all of that. And that could even be done the week before so that everything is all set, because we don't need it till that day. If it turns out that we have all the information we need and somebody wants me to put together a flyer, I'm happy to do that. And we should put the URL on that as well.
So for a flyer, we said we would need, well, we would want the names of the participants, we would want a bio. I mean, what kind of bio? I mean, Jeff Gentry would have a bio, but what would the others have? It would really just be their business and its location.
It could be, the employers would probably have a title,
Okay.
and the employees would probably have a title, you know, what is their job title? Do we want names of the people on the commission? Do we want how to reach the, you know, this
Okay,
the QR code and the URL and the mission of the
yeah.
commission? Doesn't have to be a ton of stuff. It can just be,
Okay, so Paula, if you can try to get that info from Whole Foods, I'll get it from Biddy and Bo's. And then, yeah, we can we'll pull together what we can, and then we'll figure it out. If we have time to do a
yeah.
program.
And the mission is written on the website, right?
Yep,
I think I
yep.
saw it there. Okay,
All of our names are on the website.
okay.
Yeah, and Paula and I will get you, you've already got the QR code, the URL, and we'll get you as much as we can from the businesses.
Okay.
And then maybe at our next meeting, we can have that discussion. I'll make myself a note.
And when is that meeting gonna be?
The 21st, so 2 weeks from tonight.
Okay.
So the next meeting we'll talk about the program, and we'll just do a status of where things are. So Lorna, you'll probably have to get another, you'll have to get another agenda out to Sherry next week, probably, right?
Yep.
So yeah, right now, let's just do like we did that the last time, just say it's just on continued discussions on intelligent lives and,
What's that, Tim?
program and a status, and just leave it at that. And then we'll just focus on that.
Marie, could you, the last version of the flyer that we got, that was the final version of the flyer, right?
I believe so. Yes, I think Levon sent it out at the end of the last meeting.
Okay.
Okay,
I'll resend it with the minutes tonight.
Okay,
That'd be
that's
so
great.
awesome.
Levon.
Thank you.
I'm just wondering though, because on the flyer, are we still going to be requiring masks? And are we going to say that we're sitting masks are no longer
Good.
required in the town? And
that's
as
a
of
great
last
question.
Thursday, they're not required in the schools. So, do we eliminate
point.
those mask requirements or in social distancing requirements?
Good point.
My thought, just a thought, is that we just leave it on there and see. I don't expect anything to change drastically in the next month. But at least if it's on there and then the night of, I don't know if it will discourage people.
Well, there's been just such, as far as I'm concerned, ridiculous uproar over masks. And people going to the town, to the school committee and complaining about the masks and all that, that I just wonder, will this deter people from coming and listening if they think that they might have to wear a mask?
So why don't we change it to say something like COVID restrictions? I don't know, required
Is it-
COVID restrictions
You say we are
as
following,
required or something like that.
we're following current COVID guidelines. COVID safety, current COVID safety protocols.
Right, because are you following the town? Because not that I think the town would change it again, but if you left it in terms of following what the town is doing. You wouldn't have to change the flyer if the town changed their plan.
So just say current town of Wakefield safety protocol will be in place.
Yeah.
And just get rid of that other stuff. And then whatever it is at the time, it is, and we can.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
right, because who knows what it's gonna be? Hopefully what it is today.
I think Jen McDonald has the other version, so I don't know if we want to send her another one or just leave it as is.
Yeah, when you send this out to us, maybe CC her. Or, yeah, and just tell her that, just tell her what you've done to change it and,
Updated.
yeah, and I'm just trying to think if things changed. If things changed and let's say the mask mandate for some strange reason goes back in place, we could put it on our website and have Jen do it on the town Facebook page so that, people could go there as a reference as to what the current protocols are.
We can also buy a box of masks and just have it at the
Yep.
door so that if
Yeah.
masks need to be in place, that we have them.
Yeah,
Right.
good point.
And we can tell
need
people
to
if
do
you
that.
want, if you-
Max,
we got a message saying that we start back live at work tomorrow, and actually people start back today, and that if you are uncomfortable being without a mask, feel free to wear a mask. And you can wear a mask at any time in any place that you want to, but we're no longer required to wear a mask inside, and this is at the health department. So it's in the city of Boston. So, and they were pretty strict. So it's but it could change, in a week, as
Right.
we have all experienced.
yeah, I think that's a good idea, Levon. Have a box of masks if we
Mhm.
feel we need it, and a bottle of hand sanitizer. We probably all, I have a stock of it I can bring. And and we're covered, right? And people then do what they feel most comfortable doing.
Marie,
Yes,
if you don't mind, I have the name, email address of the wedding.
A Sillers at Understanding Disabilities.
Asillars, I can
Hey.
spell it.
okay,
A-
hold on, let me just get to my writing. Okay, go ahead, Lois.
ASILLERS at Understanding
Disability, all one word.
Disabilities, all one word.
Okay. So Asillars at Understanding Disability.
Understanding,
Yeah, is it .com or anything like that?
It's probably .com.
probably.com, yeah.
Okay, okay. Thank you, I got it.
It could be .org. Is
Yeah.
another possible.
Could
Well,
be
I'll
done.
try one, and when I get the bounce back, I'll know it was the other. Okay,
Oh, .net.
yeah.
Let's see.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have anything else? Okay,
Marie, I don't have
Yeah.
Jen McDonald's email.
oh, okay, hold on, let's see if I can quickly put my hands on it.
Can, Marie,
Yes, oh, here it is. Just a minute, it's J McDonald at wakefield.ma.us. So JMMCDONALD.
would it be possible for Dan just to make a comment on, can he just say one thing?
Sure.
Yeah,
Marie, I don't know if you've done anything with the veteran services in Wakefield, but Dave Mangan at the senior center, maybe talk to him or send him some information. Because there's a lot of veterans out there that have, brain injuries or disabilities that are getting VA benefits right now, and it might be a good thing to just pass it by him.
Yeah,
But Dave-
okay. Dan, tell me his name again, please.
Dave Mangan, MANAGER. And he's the VSO, Veteran Service Officer for the town of Wakefield.
Okay, I'll find him in the,
And the Wakefield office consists of Saugus, Wakefield, and Melrose.
oh, okay.
But there's a lot of veterans that have disabilities, of course, that, it might be wise to let them know.
Okay, well, does Lois want to send him a flyer?
Sure. Matter of
Okay.
fact, we've got a coffee social coming up this Saturday at the Quannapowick Yacht Club. And if we got them in time, we could give them out there.
Okay, that's sounds good. Well, Vaughn will send it, so just, print a few if you can and just leave them on the table or hand it to him if you see him, that would be great.
Okay. What, can I just ask one other question?
Sure.
When Mr. Galvin in Boston was supposed to get our name correctly,
Yeah, I haven't heard that that's happened yet, but we're,
Okay, I was just,
so formally, we are still Wakefield Commission on Disability Issues, but we're gonna say that our branding, we dropped the issues and,
right.
no,
No, that was just something was in my mind and I just didn't, if that was okay to ask.
yeah, no, I had asked Sherry not too long ago, or Jen, or one of them, and nobody has heard, so.
I
Which
can,
is kind of frightening because whatever they needed to certify for town meeting would seem to indicate that hasn't been done yet, and that was
I
in
can ask
November.
Marion Bott because she is a liaison to disability.
Yes, go right ahead and ask her.
So
Just
I would
ask her if they've heard anything yet that we
Right.
we are
I was
curious.
I was just wondering and I wanted to get that off my, my list of things.
Yeah, I
was
would've-
thinking.
They haven't contacted me and they know that we're kind of anxious to know that, so I'm
Right.
assuming the answer is no, but that would be great. Whatever you can find out, Lois, would be great.
And then the other thing was, our money as of right now has not been changed. But
Okay,
I'm
well,
sure it
so-
will when,
right, as soon as Bob Sardella submits that invoice, we'll be down
Right.
a couple of
Okay.
$100, but that's fine. Money well spent.
how much did you say?
He quoted you
100.
about $200, right?
yeah.
He really couldn't confirm it for me today. He said,
Yeah.
yes, that's the ballpark, so,
Yeah, we spoke to him today.
okay, so whatever it is, it is.
Okay.
Does someone want to make a motion to adjourn?
I motion that we adjourn.
Thank you.
Second.
And someone second? Thanks, Paula. Okay, so thank you all. I thought this was a great meeting. Everybody had a lot of good input. And we'll see one another again on the 21st. Feel free to send me emails about any updates and I'll start working on some of this stuff and get you folks some updates as well.